Alright, man, peace. Hey, brothers, you ever have that one friend who's in a relationship with a female that you know is not going to work, but it's not your business to intrude? He has to figure it out for himself. And eventually he calls you up and he tells you that he finally decided to break it off because he realizes that she was never really in it for him. She was in it for herself. It took him long enough to realize that, and now he's decided that he's going to go off and try to find a better woman for him. And then your friend calls you back a year later and he says, you know what? I'm getting back with Trina. You'd be like, what? Why you get back with Trina for? Well, I ran into her at the mall and we started going over old times, reminiscing, and we're going to give it another chance. And you don't say anything because you know that it's not going to work, but people have to go through their process. That seems to be what's going on with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. And I stress LeBron James because I think that Kyrie Irving is just trying to use LeBron James. But we never really know what's going on in Kyrie's mind. And I do believe that Scottie Pippen understands some of the things that I've stated about Kyrie and the conundrum that he's in Boston, because those young bucks there, they do not respect Kyrie Irving even as much as they respect LeBron James. They view the championship that Kyrie was able to win in Cleveland in 2016 as LeBron James' championship, because that's what it was. So when Kyrie runs around the locker room talking about how he knows what it takes to win a championship, they're not buying what he's selling. So right now, Kyrie is in a very awkward position. Does he want to stay in Boston and see if he can commandeer those young players? Does he want to try to go back to LeBron and see if they can try to rekindle some of that old magic? Or does he want to possibly take his chances somewhere else, like the New York Knicks, and reinvigorate a dormant franchise? So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
All right, there have been reports claiming that Kyrie Irving wants to relive the glory days, potentially, and go back and play with his former teammate LeBron James. So, Kevin, are you buying this idea?
No, me, myself, I'm not buying it right now. I think that much of this is disinformation being put out by LeBron James Incorporated, because maybe they realized that Kyrie Irving was trolling them when he called up LeBron James to quote-unquote apologize, and now they're trying to troll him back. And from another perspective, you never know. Maybe if they can put out enough information saying that Kyrie wants to come back, it can convince Kyrie to come back. Maybe they can sow dissension in the Celtics locker room and try to force him back to LeBron James. I think that LeBron James saw a little fragility, a little vulnerability in Kyrie Irving when he gave him that phone call. Even though myself, I still think that Kyrie was trying to use him. But these guys are going back and forth, trying to see who can utilize more efficient Machiavellian tactics.
I mean, I'm buying that, like, he has a new appreciation for what it is that it was required to lead a franchise. I'm buying he took a lot away from those.
Once again, brothers, when you break up with that woman, there's a reason why y'all broke up, especially if y'all stay apart for a long period of time. It's very rare that you can rekindle a relationship that was dormant for a long period of time and have it run smoothly. Normally, the same old shit that caused you to break up in the first place is going to rear its ugly head again. So I don't think that Kyrie Irving really wants to go back and play with LeBron. Once again, I saw the phone call as a mechanism for him to use LeBron to try to put his own teammates in the precarious position where now it's like, okay, Kyrie's humbling himself to LeBron James. He's trying to hem us down so that we have to kowtow to him. Now, whether or not that actually has worked or will work, we'll find out. But no, I don't think that Kyrie wants to go back to LeBron. I think LeBron wants him back, though.
From those experiences in Cleveland, and he has the utmost admiration. I'm just not buying that he wants to return to that environment.
Neither am I.
I mean, Scottie, you disagree.
Scottie's face.
You disagree. You think he'd love nothing more than to defer again.
The reason why Scottie disagrees is because, no disrespect to Scottie Pippen, but Scottie was a great player who tried his hand at being the lead guy and realized that it was too much for him. He'll never come out and admit it. But he realized after about a year or so, wow, you know what, this is a bit much. I have to deal with the media after every game. I'm getting the opposing team's #1 defender as opposed to their #2 defender. I have way too many responsibilities, and this is not for me. I need Michael back. Kyrie Irving, on the other hand, is not that guy. Kyrie Irving, that dude, he wants all the smoke. He wants everything that comes with it. Every once in a while, he might get annoyed by the media, but he wants that last shot. He wants the alpha persona. He wants to be the lead guy. He wants to be the MVP. He wants all that. That was a bit too much for Scottie.
I don't think he had anything to defer about. I mean, they won championships together.
No, Scottie, they won one championship. They won one championship, and a series of dominoes had to fall their way to get that done.
People say a lot to me about how, I coattail with Michael, but it was success together. So we did.
I agree with that. You guys had a partnership, but he was certainly the majority partner.
We did it together, and that's what I see here with Kyrie and LeBron. It's like, I've had a lot of success with LeBron. Let me try to get back there with him again, because the NBA...
No, Scottie, I'm sorry. And I see where you're trying to go. But if Kyrie Irving really wanted to go back to LeBron James, he would just go back at the end of the season. There'd be no need for him to make these public proclamations about having conversations with LeBron James. What he did, it was the equivalent of a dude calling back that ex-girl that he broke up with a year ago and saying, hey, how you doing? Just calling to check up on you, and then hanging up the phone. Now he has her head spinning because she has not found a guy to replace him in that year. And she wishes that she had that old relationship back, because now she realizes that she had the right guy for her the whole time. That's LeBron. LeBron is so desperate right now, it's pathetic. He's just hoping for anybody. He wants that Anthony Davis deal to go through. He needs it to go through, because if it doesn't, his career basically is finished when it comes to winning. Because none of these other top free agents are going to sign with him. So he's hoping and praying that once that Davis deal goes through, should it go through, that he can get Kyrie to come, and then they'll have that big three that they'll need to try to take down Golden State.
NBA now is built on a buddy system. You come play with me, we can win a championship together. They've done that. And if Kyrie sees the opportunity again to go and attack a championship with LeBron James, he can't be that happy in Boston right now. They're in 5th place in the East, in the weak East. So I buy that.
But it is.
Of course you buy that, Scottie, because let's be for real. You have the mindset of a second banana. That's what you were. Kyrie Irving does not have the mindset of a second banana. Scottie Pippen had the skill set of a primary option, of a primary player, but he didn't have the mindset. Kyrie Irving has the skill set and the mindset. So that's why Scottie does not quite understand what Kyrie Irving actually did when he decided to make it public that he called LeBron James. All that was to try to put his teammates in a certain mindset so that they would become subservient to him. Scottie never operated on that level, because Scottie was very transparent with his teammates. There were no mind games. All the mind games came from Phil Jackson.
His team. You don't think he cares that much?
His team is not at the top.
Well, and
Scottie's keeping it 100, I get that. But Scottie also has to realize that Kyrie Irving is going through his Kobe Bryant phase right now. He has to win by himself. Kyrie would rather win one championship by himself than go to LeBron James in LA and win 3 championships with him. I promise you that. Because Kyrie would know that if he were to lead his team to 1 championship by himself, his name will be cemented in NBA lore as an alpha. If he were to go back to LeBron James, he would spend the rest of his career being known as a sidekick. He does not want that. That's why it would not surprise me that if things don't work out in Boston, that Kyrie would leave there, go to the Knicks, and hope that they could land Kevin Durant.
And to
That's
Scottie,
all I got to say.
and to Scottie's point,
Let me rewind this back just a little bit.
Him again, because the NBA now is built on a buddy system. You come play with me, we can win a championship together. They've done that. And if Kyrie sees the opportunity again to go and attack a championship with LeBron James, he can't be that happy in Boston right now. They're in 5th place.
Right, I get that, brother, but they're only about 5 games back. They could get hot and end up the number 1 seed. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think that Milwaukee right now is just really playing perfect basketball for them. For what they have on their roster, they're playing perfect basketball.
In the East, in the weak East, so I buy that.
But it is his team. You don't think he cares that much?
His team is not at the top.
well, and to
This guy's a
to
That's
Scottie,
all I got to say.
and to Scottie's point, LeBron gave him the opportunity to hit the biggest shot in Cleveland sports history.
Yes.
Okay.
No, LeBron did not give him the opportunity to hit the biggest shot in Cleveland sports history. LeBron needed him to hit that shot, because there was no way that LeBron James was going to make that shot.
Yes.
Okay, so there is that, and the other part of it is, and you both kind of referred to it a little bit, is Kyrie, and I said this a couple weeks ago here on this show, Kyrie kind of came into Boston being like, all right, I'm the accomplished guy, I'm the leader, and I was joking at the time, he kind of sounded like LeBron when LeBron went from Miami to Cleveland. Where
That's the same thing that I stated, and I've been stating that for a while now. that Kyrie is starting to turn into LeBron James.
Where it was like, hey, I'm here as the conquering hero, you guys got to follow me, and it's easier said than done. You can't just proclaim that you're the leader and guys are going to follow, right?
And the fact that Kyrie did that, got injured, and a couple young players became some alpha dogs there, you know.
Well, that's the false narrative that the media tries to promote, that Kyrie Irving went down and all these young players stepped up and became alphas. No, what happened is that they played very well together. They had a very nice playoff run, but they had no chance of winning a championship. They were very fortunate that they faced a couple of teams in Milwaukee and Philadelphia who had very little playoff experience, and they were able to defeat them because they had better coaching. They got to Cleveland. They should have beat that team, and they lost because they faced the best player in the NBA and a player with a lot of playoff pedigree. So they really came up short. To me, that series last year in the conference finals showed that Boston should have went to the finals last year had Kyrie not gotten hurt. Their real problem is not Kyrie. Their real problem is Gordon Hayward, because Gordon Hayward is taking time away from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
No, in Jaylen Brown, in Rozier. And now coming back this year as well as Tatum, those guys are not willing to defer to Kyrie right now. I'm gonna be honest, and that's the problem I see going on with Boston.
Well, that's definitely part of the problem.
Is that those guys have seen their leadership step up in the last 365 days.
Well, I wouldn't say their leadership has stepped up. I would say that their role was stepped up to a rather prominent position when Kyrie went down last year before the playoffs. And I stated before this season that Kyrie was going to have to reassert himself in training camp and show those guys that he was still the man. And as we can see, there's been a carryover effect well into this season where many of the young players are still unwilling to accept that Kyrie Irving not only is the best player on the team, but it's the guy that they're going to have to follow to a championship.
That they, first of all, felt like that they were all-stars this year. They didn't make it. But they're ready to be leaders. And again, like you said about Kyrie and LeBron, they're not willing to go and stand behind Kyrie because he hasn't really proven himself like Kyrie had.
I mean, is it possible we don't have the... I mean, like, if Boston is playing in the finals, or even, you know, all the way to the Eastern Conference, and they are following him, and he is making big shots, I mean, it seems to me that we don't have the information yet that's going to determine his sentiment come June and July.
We don't know if those guys are going to give Kyrie that leadership yet.
Right.
We don't know if they are ready to pass that over to him.
Well, that's the real issue, and that's a coaching issue, because the coach has to let those younger players know who the number one guy is if the problem is indeed as full of depth as Scottie Pippen is trying to convey right now. That's where Brad Stevens has to jump in. And many of these modern-day coaches are scared to confront their players.
We've seen Kyrie make big shots, yes. He's taking the big shots down in the game. But let's look back a year ago when they didn't have Kyrie. How well were those young players playing? How much success the Boston Celtics were having? They were at the top of the East last year.
No, not quite. Actually, their team was much better when Kyrie was playing. Once again, the issue is Gordon Hayward, not Kyrie. Gordon Hayward is taking a lot of time away from their wing players. They're partially blaming Kyrie because Kyrie wants everybody to fall in line, and he really just wants them to be the backup singers in his band, kind of like LeBron James wanted him to be. That's really why they're upset overall. But this notion that Boston plays so great without Kyrie, that's a fallacy.
Now they're in fifth. So, have they dialed back to
you feel like
be at fifth place? Or did they dial back thinking we're going to be leading in the East and Kyrie is going to be our leader and we shouldn't have no problem getting to the finals?
Well, the reason why they've dialed back to being fifth is because for the most part they have not added anything from last year. They brought in Gordon Hayward, and Gordon Hayward has been less proficient than the forward play and the guard play that they were getting last year from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But because they're overpaying him, they want to play him. And then when we look at the other teams in the East, Toronto was above them last year, and they got better with Kawhi. So you would expect them to be above Boston this year. Philadelphia has gotten better with the addition of Jimmy Butler, as well as the 1 year of maturation for Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. And Milwaukee has come pretty much, I won't say that they came out of nowhere because they were a playoff team last year, but they added one of the better coaches in the NBA, and they've modernized their offense and their defense. So things happen. 1 year does not carry over into the next year. Boston pretty much stood pat while everybody else got better. And plus, Boston snuck up on a lot of teams last year.
So you think they say, wait, what is the added value of Kyrie's leadership? It doesn't get us any farther.
Right, because to Scottie's point, when LeBron leaves Cleveland, they're a lottery team. When Kyrie wasn't in Boston, they're like, we got to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right, but that's normal casual basketball fan rationalizing. Once again, LeBron James plays in the LeBron James system. That's the only system that he can play in. So, of course, when he's gone, the team that he leaves has to overcome losing the main component in their entire offensive system. Boston plays a real offense. So as long as you have a player behind Kyrie who's competitive and who's NBA caliber, they're not going to lose too much because they're playing in a real system.
Finals.
And my point to all is that Kyrie has yet to prove in his leadership. He's yet to prove that he can take a team to the finals or wherever, into the playoffs. He got injured last year, so he has to show that he can get a team to that level to build his value up as a leader.
And this is not an indictment on Kyrie as a player at all. I want to make sure that we're clear on that. But a couple of quick anecdotes, right? So on my radio show on ESPN LA, shameless plug, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, The Dono Show.
Ain't nobody listen to that bullshit.
Jackie McMullen and Brian Windhorst were both on the show to talk about this particular subject. And Brian simply said, look, in the NBA, you can't dismiss anything. Anything is possible, even those guys reuniting. And
hey, Kevin Garnett even said that. Anything is possible.
And Jackie said something even more interesting about those young guys in Boston, which was, they're kind of tired and kind of roll their eyes when you hear Kyrie say, hey, I've got the championship. I won the championship. Because those guys look at it, it's like, hey, that was LeBron's team.
Ding.
It wasn't your team. And that's what Jackie says, who's obviously as plugged in as anyone when it comes to Boston.
But is the motivation then for Kyrie to say, then I'll go back to being LeBron, or I'll stay here in Boston with a ton of talent, more talent coming in? I mean, this to me is not a reason for him to go to Los Angeles. Right. It's a reason for him to stay in Boston.
Absolutely. That is why I'm not buying what Scottie's trying to sell. I understand why he's trying to sell it, though, because that would be his mindset. Once again, Scottie tried his hand at being a leader and he failed. So he wanted Michael Jordan to come back. Scottie Pippen was the guy in 1995 who was waving his finger into the camera, motioning Michael Jordan to come back as he pointed to a pair of Air Jordans that he was wearing. That's what Scottie Pippen did. Kyrie would never do that because he's cut from the cloth of Kobe Bryant. He needs to go out there and sow his royal oats like he's Prince Akeem. He has to go out there and show what he can do for himself. He's not going to go back to LeBron unless he just shocks me.
And where he's going to be surrounded by talent and prove to the world that it's his team. Right?
Well, I think that rumor only comes up because they've had players to develop in his position. Jaylen Brown can play his position. Terry Rozier can play his positions.
No, not quite. Jaylen Brown cannot play the point. He's a good wing player.
So Boston is very strong at that two-guard position. So when he throw that out there, he's just kind of letting you know that, hey, if they're not happy with me here, I have enough value. I can go play with LeBron again.
All right, well,
or he can just go to the Knicks.
All right, we'll have more Celtics coming up here in just a second, Kev.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. I just found what Scottie Pippen stated about this subject very interesting. Do I agree with him wholeheartedly? No. But I do agree with him pertaining to that component about Kyrie's teammates not respecting him on the level of LeBron. I stated in other videos about this topic that the reason why Kyrie Irving utilized that strategy of contacting LeBron James and then making that public was to put his teammates in the same position where they would have to kowtow to him. But anyway, peace.